Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Engage Zoom Series 12. Today, our guest is Dr. Tuğçe Çankaya Simpson. She has her BA in English Language and Literature, Ankara University, her MA in ELT from Middle East Technical University, and her PhD in English Literature, again from Middle East Technical University. As you can see, she has a very wide range of interests. She has been an English teacher for 15 years and has taught literature, language and culture, discourse analysis, general English, English for specific purposes, English for vocational and professional purposes. Currently, she's a lecturer in ESOL at Stoke-on-Trent College, the UK. And today, her session title is Unboxing Vocabulary Teaching, Theory and Practice Blended Within the New Normal. So, welcome all again. And Tuğçe Hocam, welcome again. And the screen is yours.
Thank you, Hocam. Thank you. I would also like to thank Aydan Hocam for rearranging, rescheduling it for Saturday, because it will be impossible for me to meet you due to my, full-time teaching on Fridays. If it had been yesterday. Thank you, Hocam, for rearranging it as well, for making it possible. And thank you for attending. And I know this is a Saturday evening, so thank you for coming. So very much aware of that it's a Saturday evening today. So instead of doing some overwhelmingly theoretical, so let's do something practical as well, so that we can share our ideas, we can, exchange ideas. That will be happy, because I'm sure that I will be taking loads from you away to put it in my own classroom. And I would love to hear from your context, your teaching context, your teaching experiences, really much. And I hope you will take something, maybe reflect on something. If I can achieve it, I will be really happy. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, let's get started. Can everybody see that? I think, okay. Okay. So, yes, I said today we're not going to do something theoretical, but it doesn't mean that we wouldn't touch theory at all. It is important. Yeah, I'm going to talk about a little bit of theory, but just to create a kind of common ground so that we can share the same language, we can share the same discourse. And we all know that our teaching should be research informed. But of course, I'm not going to share some important data and things like that. So it will be a little bit practical. I hope we will enjoy it together. So it is about vocabulary teaching, yes. But why did I choose vocabulary teaching? What is the context? What is the framework? First, I would like to talk about it a little bit. Well, words. Language emerges first as words. So that is the very basic element of language. So that's why we are teaching vocabulary. This is a system, teaching system, or like maybe teaching grammar as well, vocabulary and grammar, might be a little bit boring. There is a kind of conception in our mind that teaching systems is more boring than teaching skills. And based on my personal experience and my own impression and observations, when I was observed, formally or informally as a teacher, or when I was observing formally or informally, I did realize that we are suffering. And I'm not a saint. I am suffering as well. But it's good to suffer. It's good to suffer. When I'm teaching systems, I just sometimes find myself like a teacher who has stick in her hand. No matter how communicative approaches, all these task-based approaches, everything that I'm defending suddenly disappearing. And, I find myself in a kind of little box trying to teach grammar and vocabulary. But, well, we are in now emergency remote teaching framework, isn't it? So, well, I'm not going to talk about the difference between online teaching and emergency remote teaching, because we all know about it now. We have been doing it for a year now, but still it's a new norm for all of us. And I can assure you about one thing, that which I experienced before the second lockdown in the UK, when we turn back to our face-to-face teaching, it will be another new normal after teaching online for 1 year. That will be, again, difficult. But if you consider your pre-COVID, the good old days, the golden days, when you were teaching systems, can you please reflect on that? When you were teaching systems, were you separating it? Or now, when you are teaching online, are you, or can we actually separate it from teaching skills? Is it something independent? Of course, I think we can't separate anything from teaching skills. So even when you're teaching grammar and vocabulary, it has to be embedded in a kind of skill. We all know that. But why I'm making a kind of a kind of differentiation between these systems and skills, do you think? I think I'm going to answer it first, but I'll be hearing from you soon. We are language teachers, yes. And there are a lot of missions, I don't know why, that lots of people, institutions as well, expect quite a lot from us. Well, we have to protect our own stance, own perspective as a teacher, our own beliefs about how to teach a language, our own ideology of teaching a language. But also we have to keep, of course, certainly we have to keep our students happy and satisfied, addressing their needs and appealing them as much as possible. But there is one reality that English teachers, any subject teacher actually, we also have to keep our institutions happy. And we might not be always very lucky to be given the opportunity to design our own lessons, to design our own courses. Sometimes your institution might tell you that, well, this is your material. This is the copyright material. You have to teach that publication. And I'm sorry, you can't do anything else. So that is the reality, isn't it? I'm not criticizing it, or I'm not favoring it, but I'm talking about a reality. I'm sure that most of you, including me as well, in the past or currently, we are experiencing it. That's why teaching systems versus skills, of course, we're not separating it. But what I'm trying to say that maybe we can manipulate it. Maybe we can exploit the material that we are given to do our best. Either we believe in teaching systems separately, believe in it or not, which is not the ideal way, of course. Whatever we believe in, maybe we can turn it into something useful for our students. I don't know. That's just an idea. Okay, so what to put in the box? I have a mystery box for you here. So this box is my lesson. But actually, this box is given to me. Just imagine that it was given to me by my institution, and they put the learning outcomes inside, okay? And they told me that, well, this is your learning outcomes, lesson objectives, and this is your material, okay? This is the box that you can't go, okay, beyond. But of course, you have flexibility to put whatever you want in the box. And this is all about you, isn't it? Your stance as a teacher, your perspective. So can I hear your comments? Now I'm going to give you a situation, maybe kind of specific vocabulary item, maybe. Can you please reflect on and please share in the chat box? What would you put in that box? Let's see, I'm teaching the adjective, well, plump, for example. So the adjective plump, it's not realistic, of course, to teach only one lexical item. I'm aware of that. But why plump? I don't know. It just came to my mind today. So, well, they said, okay, you have to do it. So what would you put in that box? Can you please help me with it? I would like to hear from you, really. I'll just stop sharing my screen so that I will be seeing your comments more easily. But let's not talk about the meaningful context. I'm going to do the inductive teaching or integrated approach, certainly. But let's not talk about how to, because I think ELT has loads of already researches and talks on how to do something. But I feel we are a little bit lacking what's. Let's be practical. What to put in that box? Except for communicative approach, task-based approach, meaningful context, it should relate to student ages. This is the box in any way. So I can't teach without them. They're already there. So just be specific about the word, adjective, plump. Okay, I'm just going to put it in the chat box. Up. Okay. Integrated approach is great, isn't it? Oh, collocations. Yeah, exactly. Visuals and cartoons. What about plump? What would you say about plump? Reason to use, of course. Perfect. They're all hard to do. But what to put actually? Directly relevant with the vocabulary item plump. So can I give one example? Meaning. Yeah. Aydın hocam. All great ideas, but I think you opened the box now. You're unboxing the Okay, so I'm just looking at it. By the way, I just borrowed it from my toddler, who was very happy, thankfully, who was very happy to share it with me. This is box. So yeah, the first one is the definition of plump, meaning of plump. So what does it mean? That will be most probably, I'm not saying the first thing that you're going to teach, because you can shape it. Either you're using PPP framework, present, practice, produce, or TTT framework, test, teach, test. You can just give it at the end. You can give it at the beginning, but meaning should be there all the time. I think it comes first, but well, it depends on your learners, but it should be in the box, certainly. Flashcards. Well, compare different pictures about it. What do you mean? Faden hocam. Compare different pictures about it. Do you mean antonyms, synonyms, and some other vocabulary? Maybe. Well, I'm going to put it in my box because I'm lucky. We have participants here, so I can get different opinions from you to put it in my box, but you're unlucky because you have to listen to me only. So, but no, we will all learn from each other. So real life situations. Okay, so they're all very good ideas. Kinetics, yeah, of course, depending on your learner's learning style. But let's make it a little bit more clear. Okay, we start with the meaning. I put the definition of the word. They're all great ideas. Pronunciation. Yeah, exactly. Meaning and then pronunciation. Let me see. Well done. Pronunciation. We have pronunciation. Real plum. Yeah, and a brainstorming activity. You mean a kind of simulacrum or a kind of simulation you're creating in a classroom? Maybe a guest, huh? Could be. You can do anything. So the third one will be, I'm sorry, I think it's yellow, so it might not be so, clear to see it. It's C. So somebody says collocations. So that was great. That was great, really. Collocations, you have to include in the box the collocative possibilities of that word. We will be talking about it actually in a bit, quite a lot. And what about the form? Part of speech, great. Oya hocam. part of speech is, that was what I have in mind when I was saying form, is morphological, derivational form, what kind of word it is part of speech, great, how it is derivated and things like that. So when you put everything about one single vocabulary item in the box, then it is you are teaching vocabulary. It's not just throwing the meaning from the dictionary, but also its pronunciation, form, and everything. But there is one more thing that we shouldn't forget. I'm not saying it's the most important thing, but there is one more thing, which is the connotations. For example, does plump have a positive connotation or negative connotation? Or in what culture it can be positive? What is the cultural derivations? In what culture it can be positive, in what culture it can be negative. You can, in fact, turn it into a kind of, depending on your, of course, student's level and student's age, you can turn it into an activity. For example, if you are teaching a monolingual classroom, I was teaching in Turkey for quite long years in a monolingual setting. So, well, I was using, of course, one cultural context for students to share their own culture. But this time I was comparing, how was it in the past? But how is it now? For example, what did plump mean? Did it have a good positive connotation in Turkey in the past? I think it did. But then with the young generation, on strict diets and things and trends and everything changed. And then it suddenly gets some, maybe negative meanings. Of course, there are individual differences, but cultural differences as well. In England, plump will be, if you say plum to a man or to a woman, it's not so nice. But plump baby is a very nice, very cute thing. That's positive. That is the collocational possibilities, as we mentioned before. So when it is plump lips, plump baby, is positive. But if you say plump woman or plump man, it might not be positive, depending, again, on the culture. So these are all in the box. So when you're teaching vocabulary, you're teaching actually many possibilities around that vocabulary. So let me share my screen again. Thank you for your ideas. We got lots of fruitful things, and collocations will be the star in this. Let me see if I include a star, by the way. I have collocation star for you because vocabulary teaching is a huge topic. So I'm gonna focus on collocations today. So why collocations? Knowing collocations is part of what is involved in knowing the words. So its collocative possibilities is actually important. Lewis, I'm sure that most of you heard about it. So he's quite famous about you can type it if you want to share your ideas, with his lexical approach. So according to his lexical approach, language is not grammatalized lexis, but lexicalized grammar. So words are first, then maybe form, and pronunciation is just following. And we are learning words in chunks. So we are not taking words individually. So we learn them with their collocational possibilities. For example, let me show you something. Have you ever tried with your students? Well, there were times that I did it, especially with the low-level learners, like A2 maybe, or even A1. In fact, A1 will be better, maybe even false starters, false beginners. So when you read a text to them, and if there is a kind of collocational use, let's say a verb-noun collocation here, get a ring, okay? So, and if you want them to write down what they hear, you will see that the word boundaries in spelling will just disappear. They might come up with something like this. I just put a phonemic transcription that is the correct one, but they will, maybe as in Turkish in Turkey, they will come up something as if it's one word. You know what I mean? It's not get a ring, but it's gathering, something like that. Or if they know what gathering means, like getting together, they might even, confuse it with gathering. So that is the hallucination of the word boundaries, because that is the perfect real life proof and evidence that our brain learns in chunks. And then first we perceive it as a whole, and then we start to, divide it into parts and analyze it if you want to, add some metalinguistic ability or knowledge. Okay. So it enters our mental dictionary as a whole. So try it with your, low level learners. They will take a walk. They will just perceive it as one item, because they are together. This is how our brain understands. And Lewis goes on saying that there are strong collocations, weak collocations. Now, can I hear your opinion in the chat box again? Which one do you think is more important? When you are choosing, I'm not saying which one, there is no black and white, of course, in anything, but in language teaching, especially when it comes to language teaching, there is no black and white. But if you are to choose one of them, which one would you prioritize? Would you prefer strong collocations or weak collocations? But let me tell you, I know you know it, but just let me remind you what is strong collocation and weak collocation. We all know about frequency, I guess. So low frequency and high frequency words, whatever is used more frequently is high frequency words, obviously. So strong collocation is like this strong, deep relationship, like Romeo and Juliet. Very strong relationship between two words or more words. It can be, but collocations usually are two, usually not all the time. So if we take this verb and noun collocation, the relationship between them actually shows if they are strong or weak. Romeo and Juliet, as we know, do not see each other, quite often. So there is no frequency in their relationship, but it's such a deep and strong relationship, such a deep and strong love, isn't it? Or, in fact, Lewis gives a kind of example like that. Sometimes you see people every day, on a daily basis, on a bus stop, when you're waiting in the back old good days, when you're waiting for the bus on a bus stop, when you're out, but you don't have a relationship. They are just acquaintances. You just nod, say hi, hello. This is frequency, but this doesn't mean that your relationship is strong with them. That's what I mean. So would you prefer frequency over the quality of the relationship, strong or weak? Or would you prefer the strong collocation over frequency? So I'll just stop sharing it, because I feel more confident in. Saatler olsun is a good example. Yeah, exactly. Saatler olsun. Very good. Yeah. Yeah, strong ones. So strong ones. Okay. So hocam, would you prefer strong ones over frequent ones? Haha. Okay. Any other ideas? Of course, there is no right or wrong. You can prefer anything. I just really am curious about your personal view. Okay, so strong ones. So more or less, we are, I think, on the same boat. Strong ones. But what about frequency? Maybe I can change your idea a little bit, huh? Or maybe you can change my idea about strong ones. So let's see. Okay, so get a bus or take an aspirin. They are very frequent. They're very frequent in language, in English language. But the relationship between them is actually quite weak What does it mean? Get is a little bit flirtatious, not like Romeo. He's not faithful, because get can collocate with hundreds of other words. So the relationship between them is not so strong, it's quite weak, but getabas is such a common and frequent collocation that our students should learn in general English. I mean, if they are learning English for social life. So the more delexicalized the verb is, because get is delexicalized, get is losing its meaning, because get is changing its meaning with the other noun that it collocates. So the more delexicalized the verb is, the broader its collocative range becomes. But the relationship actually is quite loose, because get is not faithful. For example, if we look at the corpus, do you use corpus in your classroom? Of course, if you're teaching adults maybe, or young adults, or very motivated learners maybe, like English language teaching, or literature or linguistic students, translation, maybe. So can you see it, by the way? I'm so sorry. Can you see that? It's a little bit small, or maybe I'm getting old, huh? So the verb collocating with nouns, get. Can you look at the number? I mean, 3,105. And look at the combinations. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? It's very frequent, despite it's being weak. The same thing, you can use Hask, by the way. Hask is quite good about collocation database. It's quite a good tool that can also give you charts if your learners are interested in it. I mean, my learners now are not interested in corpus, so they don't want to analyze anything. So, but if they are very motivated, and if they really want to see the real life use, I'm just showing, I'm not going into it, but because it's not their field, I'm just showing them maybe to rationalize. Look, we are learning it because can you see what kind of, collocative possibilities of this word have? Maybe it's a good idea to rationalize it. So, okay, so I'm not going to go into issues and solutions. Let's talk about something practical. I'll stop sharing it to hear from you. We check concordances with your student. Kübra, you must be teaching language students. I mean, of course, they're all language students, but very highly motivated students, maybe studying English in their departments. Translation students, yeah, of course. Yeah. Coca as well. Well, that's good. Okay. So this is I didn't know that. In fact, I'll just take a note of it, because that might be useful. Thank you for that. You would prefer frequency, Seren. I think, yes, Seren, I think I would prefer frequency, not because I favor them. It's not because they are my favorite. I mean, that I want to teach them, but I think in social life, real life, they will hear it more frequently. So I would really want to, give something that they would be using. But of course, I mean, personal choices can change. So there is no black and white, as we always say. Okay. Oh, yes, hocam, frequent ones are learned very easily, especially if you are in a second language context. They are already exposed to it outside the classroom. But in monolingual context, I mean, not only monolingual, because in second language setting, they can be monolingual classrooms, of course, obviously. But in maybe EFL context, foreign language contexts, they might not be exposed to culture or, the real life use outside. Although we are watching movies and, listening to music quite a lot, so they can learn it. It just depends on who you are teaching, why you are teaching, or actually not why you are teaching, why they are learning language. I mean, for example, if you're teaching exam classes, and if in your if the exam's agenda, whatever it is, whatever specific exam it is, if it is listed as the target vocabulary, target lexis, well, you will go for strong ones. Again, assuming that they will know, of course, very frequent uses in any way. YouTube as well. Yeah. Okay. So thank you for your ideas. Let me share my screen again. Okay, turning back to our institutional requirements now. What activity is it? I'm not criticizing anything. This is a nice contextualized fill in the blanks exercise with some pictures. Okay. We're not demonizing, never ever, any kind of activity. But what I'm trying to come at, we can maybe change it a little bit, huh? We can make it a little bit more maybe interactive, especially in that new normal. Although we have been teaching online for almost a year now, it's still new normal for us. We are struggling. I mean, I am struggling. Every day we are learning new things and we are struggling with some technical problems. Or if you're not so techie, you can sometimes just be a little bit embarrassed in front of your students and things like that. We are learning all things every day, different things. So I'm not saying it's a bad exercise, but it depends on how you give it to your students. What would you do with it? Would you just say, okay, this is the fill in the blanks, controlled activity, whatever. So I'm going to put these collocations in a kind of box, and then students are going to just get the right one and paste it there, put it there. Oh, they learned it. Well, they won't learn anything, whatever you do. Even if you do magic, they won't learn it in one day. Learning doesn't occur like that. It is a process. So it doesn't depend what you're teaching and how we are teaching. But would you do it like that, or would you come up with something else? So this was the worksheet that I was given. And there was a box, like I described, with the right answers, collocations. And as students were asked to pick the relevant one and put it in the very common activity, isn't it? Which is a nice activity. Okay. And there were some photos given. So that's about workplace, obviously. I turned it into something else. I would like to share some ideas with you, especially in online context when we need more interaction. I'm not saying that we did never require interaction in our face-to-face classrooms. We always did. We always are in need of interaction because this is how brain learns as well. The socioconstructive theories and Vygotsky, all these social theories, zone of proximal development, so we learn better in interaction and think. Yeah, they all have a meaning. That's why we are reading theory, not just for the sake of reading it or researching, to apply it in our classrooms. Maybe to fail. Maybe it's a perfect theory, but maybe when I adopt it, that approach in my classroom, maybe it won't work, but at least I'm trying something. It's our job, isn't it? So we're just taking and failing sometimes doing something. So let's do something different. I just came to the classroom with the pictures only because I don't like bombarding students with the today I am going to I'm going to talk about collocations, this. Can you please read that? Look at the pictures. And I'm filling the blanks, and then let's discuss about it. Well, if you can create wonders with it, I really appreciate you, because I am not a good teacher to be able to achieve it. I learned with that style. I learned English with that style, but not because I was taught like that I learned English. I learned English despite that, because I was very motivated already. Intrinsically, extrinsically, I was motivated, so I learned English. But let's accept one reality. If your students are not like translation students or linguistic students or literature, ELT, whatever, if they are not so much motivated, if they don't have so much motivation, well, you have to do something to teach it. So I just wanted to stimulate their schema first, as we all know, with some pictures. I just wanted to create a kind of meaningful context, a kind of framework for them. This is, of course, alien to them, because I also pretended as if it was my own, workplace, or previous, of course, obviously, workplace. And I wanted students to guess whether I had always been a teacher, or what kind of a job is it? Is it a kind of office job, or was I a student maybe, or was I a trainee, or was I working in a library, or was I organizing events for the campus? And what I was doing, was I always a teacher? I just wanted them to brainstorm and make guesses, predictions, just to warm them as a kind of warm-up activity. And this was the answer key that the course book was given to me. At the end of the, usually such exercises are followed by, key answer keys. This is the correct version. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's teach it now. But I used it in another way. I'm going to show it to you now. Okay, instead of making them fill in the gaps, I didn't give any text to them, just with the pictures. I talked about my imaginary workplace. I let them guess and predict what I'm talking about. And of course, I always ask them some questions, like concept checking questions, if they understand what I'm talking about. So, and then I read it to the students. I read it as a paragraph. You can also make, I don't know, somebody, you can record their sound if you want to. You can use it as a listening activity if you want to exploit the material, because it's given like that in the course book, but it didn't have the CD. It had the CD, but it wasn't that specific text. So you can record your own voice, or you can do it in the classroom. Now I'm going to read you something about my workplace, and I want you to listen to me carefully. You can just tell students, be clear with the students. You don't need to create a mystery in the classroom. Just tell them step by step what you want them to do. And then I read it for my students, but with a clear instruction. Now I'm gonna read you, I said, something about my workplace. I want you individually, not in a group or not in a kind of pair activity, I want you to take notes, the keywords, whatever it is. I didn't focus on take an exam, get a high mark, and I tried to keep my tone of voice as neutral as possible when I came to this, bold target vocabulary, because unconsciously sometimes you can just say, take a look, because you want to teach that. It's your target vocabulary. But I was very neutral when I was reading it. I didn't attract students' attention to my target vocabulary, because I think it comes later. It should come later. And then they took notes. Maybe we can add something like that, which I didn't do in my classroom, but maybe we can support it with some CCQs, concept checking questions. Do I like my job? Do I find it difficult to work in that place? Because I read something to them and I want them to understand the text globally. Reading for, or listening actually, they did. Listening for global purposes. Which one is difficult for me? Is it my job, or is it my workplace? So I asked them some clear questions. It is also a kind of feedback, actually. When you ask these questions, these concept checking questions, students are giving you feedback very important feedback if they understand it or not, so that you can shape your own teaching. Maybe I can read it again if nobody understands anything. So it's feedback for me, but also it's feedback for students that they say, oh, I got it right. Okay. I understand the text globally, not specific details. Okay, we are breaking students out in breakout rooms. So this COVID changed our language. The discourse is changed. We were dividing students into groups. Now we are breaking students out in rooms, into rooms. You can just send students to breakout rooms, for example, with that. They took notes about it, the keywords, and their keywords will be different because they will understand different things. They'll catch different words, but they will come together, in two. If you put them in the breakout rooms, they will just share their notes, maybe discuss maybe add some notes. They will work on it. They will work on that text. And you can passively monitor them visiting the breakout rooms. So I'm just going to stop sharing this screen for a second. Bear with me, please, so that I can just have a look at your course books are horrible masters, but great servants. Well, I like that. Students think about unnecessary. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Gülkan. So what I was saying that, what I'm trying to say that, you can always exploit materials given, so don't feel yourself in a box restricted. You can set students in the breakout rooms, yes, in pairs. They can share their notes. You can passively monitor them. Well, we are in Zoom. How do you monitor your students, by the way? Are you using Teams or Zoom or whatever you're using, actually? Most of them have the same or similar functions that you can just put students into groups and you can just go there. Would you like to share your ideas with me? Do you visit the rooms physically? Filling gaps might be better for advanced students. Maybe. Yeah, it depends. It depends what they are learning, why they are learning English. So I personally, when I sent students to the breakout rooms, I would certainly, with that activity, I would certainly do such a thing. Zoom breakout rooms. We are all, we are all obsessed about breakout rooms. We love breakout rooms. They are good. If you use them not so frequently, they are good. But sometimes we all find ourselves in the situation that, because now we are teaching online and there's breakout rooms. Okay, now go to breakout rooms. No, it's time consuming. You don't need to do it every time. Just be simple. If it serves for the purpose, and if it really, really serves for the language objective, or lesson objective or outcome, learning outcome, yeah, you do it. For example, for this activity, it will work. Now I will explain in a bit. I do it like that. I'm just switching my camera off when I'm visiting students. Breakout rooms. Why I'm doing it? Not to secretly monitor them, of course, because in fact, I don't want to disturb them. But of course they see me as a dark figure, as a kind of, or my profile photo, whatever it is, but I mute myself and I switch off my camera, but I'm letting them know that I'm coming in a minute because I don't want to embarrass them. They might be talking something else in the breakout room, and when you go there suddenly, you might just embarrass them, and there is no need for that. They will just develop negative attitudes towards language learning. There is no need for that. So I'm just writing a quick, broadcasting. Zoom has broadcasting feature. I'm just writing, I'm coming, guys, in a second. Get ready. And I'm switching my camera off. I'm muting myself, going there, and I'm just purely listening to them and watching them. Well, I think that is getting their stress a little bit away when they are talking, when they are discussing. And also I find it quite practical for myself, to be honest. If you don't mind me, I don't know, I'm sharing my secret about it. Well, I'm not a shy type. Some people might do, but I'm quite, Anyway, not a shy type. But sometimes in the classroom, when I'm teaching face to face, I'm just wearing a kind of, I realized about myself when I am observed and when I observe people as well. So I find out that we all wear something, a face, a mask, not a COVID mask, but a mask, just to listen to students with a neutral face. But naturally, I'm going to frown maybe, which is not good, Your students shouldn't see you giving, whenever they make an error or make a mistake, which are, different things. So you can't just always smile or frown, but actually we are all human beings. We are not robots. We sometimes smile. Let's be honest with ourselves. So we sometimes smile, we sometimes want to frown, but we don't want our students to see that. We don't want to demotivate our students with that. So when I switch my camera off, I realize that I'm more comfortable. They don't see me. So I can just listen to them like that. What are they saying? I can look very ugly. I don't care about my appearance. I'm very natural. I can just, she said that. Okay, I'm going to take some notes and when I'm giving feedback, I'm going to use it. I mean, that's great. Switch your camera off in breakout rooms. Anyway, let's turn back to the slides. Okay, let me share it again. Guys, sorry about that. And then what you can do? Will they share their opinions only? No. You can create another breakout room now, because this is now the time for them to realize what target language actually you are teaching. So what I did when I was teaching these collocations, I turned it into a kind of reconstruction activity. After pairs share their opinions in the breakout room, you can take them, you can encourage them to work in groups of 4 maybe. This time you can combine 2 breakout rooms. But be very careful when pairing students, because I think this is important. We talked about socioconstructivist theories and Vygotsky and things, zone of proximal development, all this theory. Actually, they have very practical insights for the teachers. So when I'm leveling students, I'm usually matching students. I'm usually trying not to look at their language levels. I know they're in the same classroom. They might be, most probably they will be A1, A2, or B1, B2, whatever level you're teaching, but it doesn't mean that those students, every student in the classroom is A1 in speaking, B1 in listening. No, there is no such thing. Sometimes you are dealing with mixed abilities, which is quite common. So maybe sometimes we are even not aware of that, but we are teaching mixed abilities class actually. A student who can be maybe B1 in speaking can be a little bit behind in writing. So try to match, my humble advice will be to match the motivated student, for example, with a less motivated one. Or, like I said, match maybe A2 with A2 plus. I know there wouldn't be huge, level differences between them, of course, but there will be some individual differences, either motivational or learning type, maybe learning style. They might learn differently. You can just analyze them in the classroom. You can, or give some needs analysis at the start of your classroom as a kind of, getting to know activities you can make to take notes about students. Know your students and match them with somebody else. That's good. That variety is good. Why? Obviously, the motivated learner and a good, let me say, good language student, although I don't like saying good or bad language student, but I'm just going to say it because it's an easy expression. Okay, the good language student, of course, will teach something to the, maybe a slower student or less motivated student. But there is one thing that we are forgetting. The less motivated student, the motivated student will learn something from the less motivated student or a lower level student. Strategy. Because the better student knows the topic, she or he might not have any strategies how to learn or how to manage difficulties in language learning. But seeing that the pair or the group member is struggling with language, but if they come up with a kind of strategy to overcome that, they will develop strategies. And never forget, linguistic ability, okay, we have different competencies. Today I was in Collocations webinar. I could attend somehow in the last minute to the webinar. His theories and methodologies are quite famous. So he was perfectly summarizing such things as well. So it gave me an insight and reminded me of such things. Communicative competence, pragmatic cultural competence, but also strategic competence is important because they will fail in language learning. The important thing is that they should recover. They should know how to deal with something unknown. Okay, like vocabulary, for example, because we are talking about teaching vocabulary now. So match them accordingly. This is called leveling, because you are leveling students actually. They have different abilities. So you can get them together in that groups of 4. Then you can make them reconstruct the text like a dictogloss activity. You can read it again, maybe, and you can tell them now, okay, use your notes and listen to me again. So you're changing the reading activity into a kind of listening activity as well. And try to construct this text as much close as possible to the original one. That is one creative activity, actually. That is good because you are giving them the chance to construct something, to do something actually with the language, instead of, sitting there and passively listening to you. They are on task. That is important. And you're achieving loads of things with them. This is their text because they constructed, they created it, and they will never forget, because brain learns like that. When you are cognitively involved, when you are getting your hands dirty with something, then you learn. This is how you learn according to cognitive theories and brain-based theories. Okay, so then feedback them after that. Hear their stories, their paragraphs, their texts, but then show them the answers. Don't be mysterious, like, I'm such a cool teacher, I'm just gonna leave it open. No, show them openly, look, this is the answer key. Can you please compare your text that you just constructed with the original text and see the difference? Just tell them. This is noticing, this is discovery. I'm sure you know about it, but just as a kind of reminder, the Schmidt has the noticing hypothesis. So according to that hypothesis, he claims that noticing is important, cognitively important, because noticing requires deeper cognitive abilities. And when the brain is involved deeply, cognitively involved in something deeper, that it will not only learn easily, but it will never forget. This Benjamin Franklin has a famous thing. Hocam, do you remember that? I might not be able to say it as it is, but forgive me, Benjamin Franklin. It was something like, tell me, then I forget. Teach me, then I might remember. Involve me, then I learn. Something like that. Sorry if I'm choosing the wrong, if I'm not saying it as it is, but the idea was something like that. So when you involve them actually doing something, they will learn and they will remember. That's why what is noticing, what is discovery, you are this bold technique, colorful techniques. They're not just for fun. They're not there just for fun or just for, make something cool. No, they are getting their attention to that. Look, take a look, get a high mark. Just analyze them. What are they? Then you can start your presentation at that point. So in a language lesson, first with the leading activities, you warm them up, and then you let them construct something, get their hands dirty with it, put them on a task, let them do it on their own. Hear the words as chunks, collocations as chunks, and then break them up. Show them, let them notice, let them discover, then analyze it, ask them, what are they? They are verbs. They will say, what are their common point? They will say, it's verb, and then there is noun or something come in. So they will realize it. They will realize it. They will discover it. So you can use this coloring technique is a very basic discovery technique. It's not a rocket science. It's actually quite, we are all doing it in our classrooms. Then maybe some meaning matching activity. I'm sorry, I had to put it like that because you normally, scissors, you cut them. And again, in groups, you can just match what is what. And then why are we doing this? This might be a very controlled and very, basic activity, but if you do it like that, I think it will work. What do you think? If you do it like that, okay, you match it, they matched the things, okay, meaning with the right collocation, let me say, and then you can let them count how many get with different meaning, how many take with different meaning, how many have with different meaning. And they will realize that there is one get as a, let me show it to you. I think I showed it to students. If I didn't, I will certainly do it next time, because I think it creates it is another discovery. It is a deeper noticing, actually, you're doing. There is only one verb. There is only one word or verb form, more correctly, more accurately, but there are loads of collocative possibilities with different meanings. What does it mean? Get here doesn't have one meaning, but it gains different meanings with other things. So why are we showing it to the students? Is it important, these charts? I mean, that is very unnatural, isn't it? No, it's not unnatural, because you are, for me, you are rationalizing why they are learning it. Because look, there is one get, but there are loads of meaning. Do you see it? Let them realize it. Let them see it, and then turn back to the text. Don't leave the text because you just fill in the blanks from the vocabulary box. You just match them, and then that's it, finished. No, turn to them, play with it. Just go back again, read it, underline, make it colorful. Okay, they will learn, they will notice. Okay, so use it or lose it. The brain learns with repetition and production. If you don't use it, you will lose it. So I created that activity. That wasn't in the course book, but I am not allowed to bring another material to the classroom due to heavy copyright issues. Some institutions are rigid, could be. You have to make your institution happy, like turning back to the original talk. At the beginning of the talk, original idea at the beginning of this talk. Well, you can create something. it's easy. You can do better. I'm not saying that this is very creative, but I just made a kind of role play. But the context is always consistent. Workplace, school and work, school and work. Okay, so don't talk about going for holiday or a beach. It's absurd. Just stick to the same topic, because you already created a wonderful, meaningful framework. Either boring, they will be in it. They will start enjoying it. Don't worry. So you can give such situations, real life situations. You can give some, collocative possibilities you can pick up, or you can say that it's not rigid. These are only examples, because always give students flexibility, so that they will, if they don't want to talk about taking an exam, they don't have to use it. Say that these are just guidance. You can choose any from our, previous colorful chart. You can choose any, or you can use this. And now, we'll give some clear instructions, of course, set the task very clearly, no mystery. But I also advise you to do that. Give them some useful expressions. Don't let them alone. I mean, it's not only get, have, take. How will they, in what context, with what language they're going to use it? For example, this is asking for advice or useful expressions on giving advice. One student is going to ask for advice. One student will give advice. It's not in the course book. It's not in the course book. It wasn't the aim, but I checked the course book. It was coming after 2 units or 3 modules, something like that. Well, that's good. It's peripheral learning. It acts like it's preparing students, of course, depending on the students' level as well. So don't put something very advanced level expression here. I mean, something that they can understand, they can use without some clear instruction, or they could hear, maybe I need your advice, everybody. Might know it, some basic functional language, and give functional language to them. Let them use this in a functional language, because it's real, isn't it? So let them talk about it in either breakout rooms or do it on your main room, whatever you want to do. Hocam, are we running out of time? I'll be very quick. Okay. So what I'm trying to say, that you might be given a very, restricted copyright material. That's okay. That's fine. You can always play with it. Zoom has lots of facilities like broadcasting, breakout rooms. You can do anything. And also, use games as recycling activity, because games are not only for young learners. I realize that I have never taught young learners, so I feel a bit unlucky and less privileged, to be honest, because of that. And I don't think that I'm very capable of doing it, unfortunately, because teaching young learners really, really must be difficult. So I'm just guessing that. But with young learners and with young adults and adults, games work as well. Especially in online contexts, you can just use the merits of discussion boards, for example. That will save time as well. Instead of saying that, okay, just form your groups and find a name, mutual name. No, you will just spend 10 minutes with it. You can just let them do it a day earlier in a discussion board. You can also monitor them when they are talking. That will turn into another language activity. And you can just, do that to the finish thing. You can just recycle these collocations. Okay, so the end, hocam. Sorry about that. I hope I didn't bore you on a Saturday evening.
No, that it was really great. Thank you very much. In fact,
thank you,
I
hocam.
have taken lots of notes here. I don't want to take a lot of time by bombarding you with questions, because I have some disagreements with you, in fact.
Yeah, I will,
But
hocam, come to that. But can I, if you don't mind me, can I, this is the last slide. Can I just ask you a question, the
Sure.
participants? I'm
Sure.
so sorry. This is the last part. I'm not going to take too much of your time. So this is just to tie up. This is just to conclude. So we had this box, we talk about it, and there are some wraps, different colorful wraps and ribbons. So these colorful wraps, I put it for you to tell you that we have, as teachers, we have different identities and different personalities and different stance, which we should be proud of. And these ribbons in your lesson will symbolize something very important, I think. That will be creating rapport with your students. And why I'm saying this, because it's not about vocabulary teaching. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to add it because there was a good boxing metaphor going. So I wanted to end it like that, because I think, especially teaching online, you need to trust your students. Your students need to trust you, I know. And most of us might not be so techy, technological about things. That's okay. There will be something wrong. You will do something wrong, or even if you don't do anything wrong, your internet will cut. Okay, you will lose your connection. Anything can happen. Just show students that you are learning with them. I think that is the perfect way of creating rapport. Let them model your own strategies of dealing with difficulties in your own learning process. So, hocam, thank you so much. I'm sorry to
thank
have
you.
taken
I mean, this is always the case. When you ask teachers to come and give you sessions, they never know when to stop. That's the problem.
Sorry
Just
hocam.
no, just kidding.
Teacher talking time hocam it is.
No,
We are all suffering.
it was a great presentation. Thank you very much. Well, as the moderator, I would like to first ask the participants if they have any questions, because they have made several comments in the chat box.
Oh yeah, I'm just reading it now hocam.
And just a quick reminder, please do not leave the session because we have a giveaway, as we have announced before. If you leave, that means you do not want to be a part of that. Okay. Well, they are thanking you, definitely.
I thank you everybody for their participation and bearing with me, with the talking head.
Well, it was really fun. It was really good to refresh some of the
Thank you so much.
Concepts that we have and get your perspective, because we do have different perspectives. And it is always good to hear someone else's perspective and how they defend their point of view. So it was very beneficial. Thank you very much. What I have in my mind, if it's okay with you, because there are no other questions.
Are there not? I'm just trying to.
No, they are just thanking you.
Oh, thank you so much, everybody.
They are buttering you up. Just kidding. Yeah. When you started your talk, you gave some examples like the cliches, the chunks. And you have, for example, it just struck me, used take a walk, which is a very, very dangerous phrase to teach. Because if I take a walk, it's something very nice, it's good exercise for me. I get fresh air. But if I say, take a walk to you, that has a totally different meaning, especially in American English. I don't know how the Brits use it, but in American English, it's just F off.
Yeah.
Very informal way of saying it. So what struck me is, even when we teach these chunks, they need to be in a context.
Yes, they have
to clarify the meaning, because political correctness requires us not to teach these hostile, negative phrases to our students. In course books are very clean, extremely clean.
Well, yeah, they obey the rules very much.
Yeah.
They have to.
So, just a quick comment I want to make. Whatever you teach, do not teach in isolation. Teach it in context. Because everything gets its meaning from the context. Remember the joke about the Pope visiting Paris. If you get the context away, the meaning is totally gone.
Yeah, there has to be framework of meaningful context framework to
definitely.
Put the target language item in. Then it will fit to the brain network.
Definitely.
I agree with
And language acquisition also supports this approach, I should say, because language acquisition theories claim that children pick up chunks. They do not pick up individual items. They pick up the chunk as the cliche, and they learn the meaning because of the exposure, not because someone defines the meaning, gives the definition of that phrase. They look at the surrounding, the context, the participants, the venue, everything, and they learn it. So I'm checking the chat box. No questions. Um,
Is it something good or something bad?
that is something good. That means you have clarified all of your points, so
Well,
they
I
do
would
not
really
require
maybe some.
further clarification.
Thank you, everybody. Maybe some. I also took some notes, from the chat box. That really, really will be something that I will take away with me to my classroom and to put in that box. Thank you so much for giving me some ideas.
I can also send you the chat box later.
I am now reading them, hocam, while
Okay.
you're talking, if you don't mind. I'm just having a look.
No.
Thank you.
Zoom, as you know, records chat
Yeah, you can
box
record it.
separately. So if you're interested, I can send you the chat
I
box.
just read them all, and thank you so much, everybody.
Well, Tuğçe hocam, it was a great pleasure to have you here with us. Thank you very much, and hope to see you again.
Thank you, hocam,
In another session, maybe.